Stetson, JT. Welcome to the Voice of College Football, best discussion, debate, and analysis of the game we all love. Because of your engagement and participation, we appreciate your support. Please hit that like button. Also, subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live, which is each and every day, typically multiple times per day across our 25 team channels. This is a topic that I've seen bandied about on several platforms the last few days. I wanted to address it a few weeks ago. I should have at that point entering the SEC championship game, a game in which, of course, the Georgia offense disappointed in a 41-24 upset loss to Alabama. Now we are entering the semifinal game against Michigan, and the question still looms. Should we go with Stetson? Should we go with JT? And is JT Daniels even available? A question that Kirby Smart seems to be avoiding. All right, let's size it up right here. First of all, is JT Daniels an option? We don't necessarily know that. He suffered what was termed an oblique injury at one point and also a strained lat early in the season. The last action that he had for quite some time was on September 25th against Vandy, completing 9 of 10 passes for 2 touchdowns. It was then 6 weeks that JT Daniels was off the field. Then he came back against Mizzou, 7 of 11 for a touchdown with a pick against the Tigers. Then he came back in that second to last game of the season against Charleston Southern, and he threw a touchdown pass on 7 of 12. Then we did not see him for the regular season finale against Georgia Tech. Stetson Bennett, meanwhile, has been leading the offense. Kirby Smart made the comment following the Missouri game in which JT Daniels played for the first time in 6 weeks by saying, number one, he understands the offense. He also has great decision-making ability. He knows where to go with the football. Now, this seems to be a characteristic in which Stetson Bennett lacks at times and at critical times. We saw it again against Alabama for a second consecutive season against the Tide. Stetson Bennett, of course, relying on a tremendous running game and the best defense in the country, does pretty well. It's not that Stetson Bennett is incapable. It's that the question is he the best quarterback for the situation in gunning for a national championship? Stetson Bennett this season has completed 64% of his passes, 24 touchdowns, 7 picks. JT Daniels at 72% in limited action, 722 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. The one distinction I'll make here is that Stetson Bennett has largely played against better competition, and his pass per attempt is 10.1 yards compared to JT Daniels' 7.7 yards, which would belie that JT Daniels has a stronger arm or takes more shots downfield. And that's, I believe, one of the evaluations of JT Daniels versus Stetson Bennett that may not necessarily be accurate. So we've got the stigma or the benefit, depending on the player, of being the 5-star that's been highly touted, JT Daniels, coming from USC, and being 6'3", the guy that can stand tall in the pocket, versus Stetson Bennett, little guy at 5'11", 3-star walk-on at Georgia. So JT Daniels, highly acclaimed, Stetson Bennett, not. Okay, who's the player and who are these particular players today? That's what matters. Stetson Bennett, we know, can move. He's mobile. He can run away from pressure. JT Daniels can't. So there's one distinction, check mark, for Stetson Bennett in the comparison. JT Daniels seems to do a better job of finding open receivers and not making the critical mistake. This is what has haunted Stetson Bennett. He'll play a good game. He'll play a good quarter. Then he'll make the critical mistake, especially that pick 6 against Alabama. Perfect example. If you go back 1 year against Alabama, Stetson Bennett played a remarkable first half. Then at the end of the first half in the red zone, made an awful mistake, and that was the beginning of the end, and he came off the rails in the second half in a identical 41-24 loss against Alabama. So we don't know if JT Daniels is available. We don't know if Kirby Smart is being stubborn or is simply making the evaluation that Stetson Bennett is the better player based on mobility, based on experience, based upon just not being rusty, being in the game flow, and having the reps under his belt, versus JT Daniels, who appears to not necessarily have a better arm. I think that also might be a misnomer. The people that know, the people that watch the two players and have studied them, don't say that JT Daniels necessarily has a stronger arm, but maybe more arm talent. He's more precise with the football and doesn't put it in harm's way. And again, to Kirby Smart's last point made after the Missouri game about JT Daniels, good decision-making ability, and puts the ball where it needs to be. Better arm talent versus stronger arm. Maybe Stetson Bennett has the stronger arm, and we know he can run around and move and get away from the defense. I found it intriguing that this quandary again came up in another SEC championship game in which Kirby Smart was on the opposite sideline as his mentor, Nick Saban. Think about what Nick Saban did and what the move that he made, the risky move that he made once for sure. The other time he was pressed into the decision based on injury in two critical games against Kirby Smart and Georgia. Of course, the 2017 national championship game in which he replaced an ineffective Jalen Hurts to jumpstart the offense. Tua Tagovailoa came in and, of course, sparked the comeback win, 13 down, 26-20 in overtime. And then just 1 year later, SEC championship game, victory needed to send the winner into the college football playoffs. Critical game, Georgia led by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Tua got hurt. Jalen Hurts came in, and he reset the offense. He gave the offense a spark with his running ability, and Bama won at 35-28. And here we are with Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels. Kirby Smart, if JT Daniels is an option, I was thinking this during the SEC championship game. You're down by 2 scores in the second half, but there's still plenty of time. If JT Daniels was available, what do you have to lose? Stetson Bennett is not bringing that team back from 2 touchdowns to win it. JT Daniels has the arm talent. Now, it probably wouldn't have worked. It was probably too much of a hill to climb, but it was worth a shot to see, could he spark this offense? Could you knock Alabama out of the college football playoff, catch lightning in a bottle with a talented quarterback leading a team from down 14 points? Sometimes we see a team respond when a new quarterback comes on the field and takes over. We have heard from several Georgia players that there is no division in the locker room, that they are both tremendous teammates, leaders. They have confidence in both players. We don't know that to be true, but that is the company line, and that's what they should be saying. And, of course, we know Kirby Smart and his track record with quarterbacks. I'm not going to be as critical as many people would be and have been concerning Kirby Smart's handling of Jake Fromm and Justin Fields. It's easy to say in hindsight that Justin Fields was the selection to make. He went to Ohio State. He proved to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in college football. Jake Fromm was more like a top 15 to 20 quarterback in college football, and now Justin Fields is a rookie starting quarterback in the NFL, while Jake Fromm is barely on a Buffalo Bills roster last I checked. But considering Jake Fromm had a remarkable freshman campaign in 2017, led the team to the national championship game, and by all accounts should have won that game, but his defense let him down, and could have won a national championship. And then the next season, it was not his fault. Again, then Bama came back in the fourth quarter. Jake Fromm put his team in position to get back to a college football playoff. So Jake Fromm had a stellar career at Georgia, but in the aftermath, that's what big-time college football coaches are paid to do, paid huge money to do. Not just win the games, not just recruit, but make the critical personnel decisions. And this one certainly proved to be Justin Fields better than Jake Fromm. Is Kirby Smart making the same mistake 3 to 4 years later? Does he have the option to make this mistake? Is JT Daniels on the shelf for good reason? Can he not play at a rate that he needs to play against the likes of Alabama and now Michigan? Your thoughts about JT Daniels, Stetson Bennett, Georgia football, right here at the Voice of College Football.